Hi everybody, this is my first stream in 3 years, and I'm hoping to just increase conversations and awareness on certain things. I think the gaming community is the perfect platform. Hi! I know I love the cats too. We're going to talk about many things related to psychology, and sometimes we're going to talk about these topics that might be difficult to touch, but you know what? Me and childishness, we got this. We're here to just help you feel like these things are not untouchable. They're part of being a human being, and so if we just have casual conversations, maybe even throw in humor, that we can learn and grow together as a community. So, my collaborative partner, please introduce yourself, a little bit about you, and puppy. Introduce your puppy as well. Joshy, did you hear that? Dog's name is Prince. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He loves Prince too. You guys will love each other. Yeah. um, hold on. Wait, hold on. Someone says she can't hear you. Are you sure? Let's check for sound. Can you talk a little bit more again? Make sure that people can hear you. Can't hear him. No, they cannot hear you. That's weird. Um, you know what? If I do this, will there be an
Oh,
echo?
that's why. All right. There we go. How about now?
Hello?
Can you guys hear me now?
Okay.
Is it coming through now?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure there's no echo.
So when I was using my VR headset, it like switched everything. So
No,
yeah,
I hate
that's my
sound
fault.
stuff. We're doing fine. We're doing great. Please introduce yourself.
Oh well, hi. We using real names or aliases?
You can do both. I do both. It's hard to. I'm everything.
Okay. All right. Cool. Um. Oh yeah, my name is Childish. I go by Childish online, but during the daytime, I'm Shawn Brown. I'm a substance abuse counselor here, located in Maryland. I work with a program that does inpatient, outpatient. We also have PRP, and yeah, I've been doing this work for about it's been about 10 years now with substance abuse counseling. My undergraduate is in applied psychology, and my master's is in alcohol and substance abuse counseling.
First of all, I think it's
And
wild that you
yeah,
got a
so like when I'm
master's
not
in
on,
drugs.
I know everybody says that. They're like, you can get a master's in that. I'm like, yeah, that's a thing.
No clue. Sorry about that. I cut you off. In your free time, what do you
I know
do?
more. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. When I'm not on here yelling bad words at fictional characters and video games to decompress, I'm a substance abuse counselor during the day.
Hmm.
And thank you, because I that was like one of my big things this year was to get back into streaming. I have not been on here. I'm not very consistent with it. I kind of do it when I want to, but
Hmm.
um, a lot of people keep telling me like, man, you can get a good following. I'm not that far from being affiliated, so this is definitely a push in the right direction to get me back on here. So I appreciate you having me.
Oh, nice. And I love algorithms and social media stuff. We could totally get you affiliate soon. Um, I I'm watching my Twitch and I have ads on my own Twitch. I don't know what the heck is going on. Why am I have ads? I'm like,
How does that work?
I don't know. Anyway, so let's dive into the topic, the fun topic of stereotypes, racism, family systems, because that's what we're here for, right? We're here for the deep stuff. And so I I guess I'll start by asking you, how do you define what a stereotype is? And I'll go with that too.
Um, Stereotype. How would I
Hmm.
define a stereotype? Pretty much stereotypes are preconceived notions about a particular person, set of people, ethnicities. It's just kind of like one of those preconceptualized ideas of what you might think a person might be,
Hmm.
or how they might act in a certain situation, or intelligence, all of that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, that isn't like a Webster's definition.
Preconceived. Oh gosh, they were watching ads. See, I'm annoyed now because I
Oh,
don't have ads on my thing. We'll work on that. Thank you for letting us
hey
know.
man, thanks
Yeah,
for joining.
I know. Poopy ads. I don't want ads. Let's hope that I'm crossing my fingers that we have at least 20, 30 minutes with no more ads. I know, I do want money from Twitch. I'm not doing it for money, but like if I could get money, I'll throw it back into the stream. Okay, back to your definition. You said
I'm saying, like, that's my whole thing.
I know. Okay, a preconceived notion of something, right? So that's the general definition of a stereotype, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think
Yeah,
about
pretty much you're just kind of
masking, maybe? Or judgments?
definitely masking. I know a lot of times, especially amongst minorities, we kind of talk about code switching a lot. And you hit the nail right on the head. Like, it's just kind of one of those things where ooh,
Dude!
sorry.
Every single time.
I
Dude,
called
that's
them and I'm
like
like,
the
look, I'm
old
gonna be doing stuff
school-
tonight. I can't talk to you.
Old school phone ringing too. What year are you in? Was that 1985? Like that was.
I'm an old man.
I felt
I'm an old. Do you not see the cardigan? I'm old.
Oh, I wear a cardigan too. Team Cardigan. Makes us look super serious. Anyways, so let's go back to
Indeed.
code switching because I think that's a really important topic. Team old. Let's go.
Team old. Yeah. Especially amongst the African American community, we do that a lot, and it's more of a defensive mechanism, honestly. I'm not sure if you ever seen that show Big Mouth. They have a whole segment where they're singing about code switching. I gotta find it later, but it's a thing that people kind of do because of these, like we were talking about, these preconceived notions about certain things and how we're supposed to present and certain things like that. I know when I was still an undergraduate and I was looking for internships and stuff, I definitely code switched. As a means to, because the first few places I called, they were like, "Oh wow, you're very astute. You sound very astute, and you sound very, you just sound like you know what you're talking about, and you sound very intelligent and very astute. And we would like to have, well, that was the direction that they were going. We would like to have you." And then I told them the school that I went to, and they were like, "Oh, never mind." So I actually lost a few places. And I'm not sure if it was just because maybe they had a few individuals from where I went to school from, Coppin State University. Yeah, this is where I graduated from. It's my alma mater. And I don't know if that had something to do with it, but it definitely had. It felt like that. Like I was okay before any of that kind of stuff that they before they knew who I was, or even tried to cast me in that same lot as some of the other people I went to school with. They just kind of shot me down. So I definitely can kind of see myself shifting with certain crowds and stuff like that. And again, it's not to be deceitful or anything like that, but a lot of times people, that scared me. Is that a what? Oh, I have a new follower. Thanks for the follow.
We're getting scared here.
Can you tell I haven't been on here in a while? That was very loud in my ear, but I appreciate it. But yeah, like even down to the way my hair is, like people just kind of cast these judgments and look at you a certain kind of way, and like, oh, that kid, he's a troublemaker, or he like I think I shared in the Discord the other day about that guy that followed me around in the store. I was working with an individual, and she's visually impaired. And I was kind of guiding her around the store and everything. And the guy came out of nowhere. He kept giving me dirty looks the entire time. And I'm like, okay, sir. So we just kind of made our way out the store and everything. And now, mind you, he does not work in the store.
Oh, he doesn't?
Followed us out the store and was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I'm like, dude, like, yeah. Like, I asked the person, I'm like, "Hey, redacted." I really just said redacted out loud. Did you know this person? And she was like, "No." And she was like, well, nothing's wrong. Like, you can kind of move along and everything. But I don't know. He just kind of thought maybe, I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't have to wear a name tag saying, hey, I'm a substance abuse counselor. I'm not a drug dealer.
Yeah.
But people have these preconceived notions or whatever. They see, uh, petite white woman, and they see me walking with her by the arm down the aisle. They think something shifty's going on.
Mm.
And that's the farthest thing from the truth.
It's
So, yeah, we're
it's
going to have a lot to talk about
yeah, it's
tonight.
hurtful. Like, so I'm not saying that I am aware of all of the stereotypes and assumptions, but I have been open to understanding that there are some times in my life that I have been, whatchamacallit, naive, or what's the mean word of saying that I don't know? Ignorant. So I acknowledge that. In my past, I have been ignorant of certain things. And hi, Jaden. Hey, you're here. Be good, okay? um, so just
I
saying right
did it.
now, no trouble. So I had a black partner in a long time ago, and he would tell me all these things that he had to go through, and I was like, my world is a little bit different, but at the same time, I have been also, whatchamacallit, um, assumed for certain things because I look a certain way. You just landed? Okay. And because I don't look like certain family members, they assumed that I was actually trying to steal from my own family members, and it made me so sad. You know, like the colorism is strong, and I look
Mm,
a little bit darker than my family members, certain family members, and so like I was walking around the store, and they're like, "Can I help you?" It's like you can tell they don't actually want to help you. You can tell that they're assuming that you have the worst intentions and you're trying to steal something, and it's the worst feeling. It's like I'm not a bad person. I didn't do anything. You know, like
right.
I don't want to do anything now. Like I want to leave. You know, it doesn't feel good, and so I also was talking to my boyfriend about like this whole like I know this is also a cultural thing too, like it's a terrible cultural thing of having to have receipts everywhere you go. You know, like you can't walk around without having proof that you bought something just in case. And like some people don't ever have to think about that because they've
Hmm.
never been accosted or assumed that they stole it because they couldn't possibly be able to afford something like that, right? It's a terrible feeling. All these are terrible feelings.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like it's definitely a thing being profiled,
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying, and I'm pretty sure every culture has their own different nuances and things that people kind of assume about them. But I can only give you the perspective of a 35-year-old black man. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, just in my experience, I agree. Like, people kind of assume that you're up to something or you're
Mm-hmm.
ready to steal, even in the professional um terms, and as far as like what I do for a living. Um, I was just talking to someone about this the other day about how people sometimes have the talk with their
Mm-hmm.
kids about how to talk to the police and stuff like that.
Yes.
And with me going to a primarily African American school, um, when I actually, quick fact, so everybody out there watching, I breakdance, and my school was lame and they didn't have like a breakdance club or whatever. So I had friends that went to Johns Hopkins University, and that's actually how I got into it. They were like, well, shoot, you can come with us and practice with us and everything. So I would go down there a lot and we would just kind of shoot the shit, talk to each other and stuff. And a few of my friends, we were just talking about different things, life and stuff like that. And I think around the time the whole riot situation happened here in Baltimore, and I was just asking a few of my friends, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, have your parents ever had that talk with you? And a lot of them, well, it was a melting pot at John Hopkins. So we had people that were African American, people who were Caucasian, people who were Asian. It was just a melting pot up there. But like a lot of them looked at me like I had three heads. I'm like, what talk? That's officer friendly. You just say hi to the police. And I'm like, nah, bro, that's not how. Nah, that is not how things work in my world.
Mm. Mm.
Case in point, like I grew up, my parents did not like me having like guns. I didn't have a super soaker until I was an adult because my parents did not want me to
Because you
have any kind of thing
can't.
that looked like a
Like, you
gun.
can't hold that because sometimes, ugh, I hate this, like, you're a baby and they put extra 10 years on top of you because of your skin color, right? You're automatically a threat because you don't get a childhood.
Mm-hmm.
That is so sad. It's so dangerous. So I
Right.
understand that need to protect you. And it's like you lose a childhood because you have to grow up too fast. It's so sad. So sad. So unfair. I hate it. Ugh.
Yeah, really is, and it's one of those things where people who I don't know about you. Maybe you can chime in and maybe you agree with this. I hate. I know people sometimes want to like relate and will say, um, I don't see color, or racism's
Mm,
dead, and
mm.
it's not.
Nope.
It really isn't. I mean, things have gotten better than they were.
Hmm.
Things have gotten a lot better, but they're not where they need to be.
Right, right.
So
So I would like to bounce
everybody
off
wants
of
to make
that.
loud noises today. Stop.
No, your Prince wants to participate too. Prince agrees. So I want to bounce off of that. So I get to talk to you about the psychology groups. There's so many spaces where it is very much what you would call quote unquote white feminism. So it's not intersectional. There is an aspect of intersectionality, but only for certain people. So you want to talk about rights, you want to talk about injustice, and making the field more, what do you call it? Integrative and diverse. At the same time, there's certain groups that always get ignored because it doesn't account for the narrative of white feminism. And so there is this aspect of like
Mm,
positive vibes only, and that's where you go with like we don't see color, everyone's just a human being, we're all part of the human race. And I want to believe it. A part of me totally believes that. At the same time, if you look at individual experiences, you'll see that this is not the life experience of someone who grew up here. You know, you have the class intersectionality,
right.
you have poverty, you have race, but you also have like the invisible health conditions and the way people think. That's why cognitive diversity is a real part of it, because your trauma affects your brain and your body. If we don't acknowledge that, we're letting people and generations of people continue to suffer and heal. It looks like your dog is a hologram. He's like floating and green. Sorry, I couldn't focus. Yes, the term
It's
is
fine.
toxic positivity. That's a real thing. And at the same time, people say, when I'm healing through my trauma, I want to be positive only. So I don't see color. Like, dude, you have to. If you don't see that, you're missing out on how other people are projecting the stereotypes and how other people internalize the stereotypes. Because I've had a problem in my past where I've internalized colorism. It's been a big problem in my life where so here's like me disclosing. I actually wanted to be East Asian for most of my life. I wanted to be fair skinned. I wanted to be like Japanese, Chinese, or Korean because they're on the pedestal of the Asian you want. So here's my
Mm,
joke, like for Ali Wong, she considers me Southeast Asian. I'm a jungle Asian. I'm the one that gets like oppressed, colonized by wars, and like used in sex trafficking, and like we get made fun of. We're the brown Asians, right? And so like all that stuff that people throw on us, I internalized a lot of it, and it lowered my self-worth for a long time. And so I'm here to reclaim that, you know. Aw, you're on my pedestal too, Joshy. I love you. And so, like, it's this thing where it's a lot of unlearning to do. It's so much unlearning because, like, the message is so strong. It's so severe that we we perpetuate the stereotype because that's how powerful stereotypes are. And then I know some people are going to be like, but you have control over your life. You don't have to be a stereotype. You're your own person. That's the same way as saying that you don't see race. It's complicated. If you have the power and
mm,
access of privilege, you can escape stereotypes. If you don't have power, if you're in poverty, if you're struggling, you're more likely to be vulnerable and be affected by these stereotypes, which is why it's so powerful. Like, it's so much more to unlearn and heal from because other people with power are pushing stereotypes onto you because they don't want it.
right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, everything, our whole infrastructure is just so not made for minorities of any different, unless you're Anglo-Saxon in the male, in some cases, it's not meant for you. Even down, like I was sharing to you the other day when we were chatting, my mom was recently diagnosed with lupus, and she was bounced around from I don't know how many different doctors, and he was like, "Oh, you're fine, you're just getting older," and all this other stuff. And whole time she's telling him, "No, something is not right. Like I'm not feeling okay. I don't feel. I know I would know how I feel in my own body," and it just kept kind of dismissing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until my mom actually got with her primary care doctor now, who's also an African American woman, that they found out that she has lupus and all these other health concerns and stuff like that because they just kind of swept underneath the rug. even down to our training. And I think I was sharing with you um, a while back when I was doing the CEU trainings and stuff like that, and they were talking about cultural sensitivity.
Hmm.
And it's laughable about some of these things that they say and how they kind of word stuff, because it's just kind of one of those things that, like, this should be common sense, and it's not. One of the things that was prompted was, if you have a coworker who is of Asian descent, is it okay for you to ask them if this Chinese food is authentic? I'm like, why is that even a thing? Because if I'm at a, if we I have a, if I have a potluck at my job and somebody asks me, "Hey, do you think that this chicken is authentic?" I might have to hurt someone. Like, it's just kind of one of those things. Like, why do I have to tell you? Like, does this person have all the 7 herbs and spices? Do you approve? Like, that's not okay. Like, why? Why are you? Why would you ask someone like that? Like, that's just kind of, I don't know. Like,
Mm.
we've just kind of, and maybe you can identify with this in your field too.
Mm.
It's just one of those things where it's just not. It's getting better. People are trying to do better, but like, it's just, things should just kind of be the norm.
Hmm.
Um, in the area I work in, it is primarily African American, but we also have some Latino and Latinas in the area. And one of the biggest things about them culturally is that a lot of times the man will go to work
Uh-huh.
and the woman will stay home with the children and stuff like that. And a lot of times they don't speak English. They'll have their children translate for them and stuff.
Yes.
It's a cultural thing. The dad goes and works, and the mom is the homemaker.
Hmm.
So a lot of times you meet some of the individuals I've met and come across and stuff like that. They did not know any functional English at all, and a lot of times their children translate it for them. People, we all have our different nuances and different things that make us unique. So when people say, "I don't see color," or color isn't a thing, like it might sound innocent on the outside, but like, it's really dismissive. We do have our differences. We do have different things that make us unique, and like, to act like those things don't exist,
Hmm.
you're kind of dismissing someone.
Yes. Yes. And that's
So,
also
what's up,
what's
Leroy?
Leroy. Oh, hey Leroy. And also there's the component of like what Psych for Geeks is saying, the language component, and then the family dynamic component, that the structure of the family is different depending on the culture and acculturation. Just because you're Asian doesn't mean you're going to have the same family system as every other Asian person. That's not how it works, you know? Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, and yeah, like you said, like, every family's dynamic is different and stuff like that. But it's just certain things that, at least from the time I was in school up until now, things that people haven't really paid attention to,
Mm.
even down to people who, why is my background white and the text white? I'm gonna have to fix that later. That's driving me crazy. Oh, it
Huh?
says
What?
that you're not coming through on mine.
What?
I know stuff does not want to work today.
I'm not on your stream.
No, you're there. You're visually there, but like, the volume, for whatever reason.
Really? You don't hear me?
Listen, and Leroy said he couldn't hear you. Oh,
At
why
all?
is that? I know.
I hate
I'm
this. Twitch, I
screwing up
hate
royally
you.
right now.
A love-hate relationship. I hate you. But your platform connects to so many people. Um, on my side, they can hear me. Hi,
All right,
Jan.
say something again.
Hello?
Why is it echoing?
So he's saying that it's a big issue in
It's echoing
healthcare
now.
when clinicians rely on the children to translate for the parents. There's a power dynamic. He says he hears both of us too. Meow meow. Hearts. Okay, bye. So while you're gone, I actually wanted to comment on something about the police. So I used to be a school counselor intern at a Title I school. Title I school means that there's funding because it's a very low socioeconomic area. and they get funding because the poverty level is so low. And what the school was trying to do was build partnerships with the local police department because a huge percentage of the students didn't graduate high school and they would just join the local gangs. And so sound is gone. So can you hear me, yes or no? Oh, okay. So because of that, there was this big effort for the administration from it's actually elementary school too, so it's wild. The elementary school was trying to build partnerships with the local police department, and so we would have every semester a breakfast with the local police. You would pair up, we'd have the fifth graders pair up with, they would pick a police officer who came by and have breakfast with the kids, and it was to build this partnership because, like, if you trust the police, you'll be able to go out and ask them for help instead of being afraid of getting drawn into, hey Leroy, thank you for your first time chat. You'd feel more connected to the police department instead of needing to get community in the gangs because there was such a disconnect, because it was like a largely population of Vietnamese refugees. So the intergenerational component of that is like, you don't trust the government, you don't trust people, and so everyone just trusted each other. And so culturally, if you come from displacement and war, you know, like, you should try that, Psych for Geeks. It's a really big thing where if that's part of the legacy and the history of a certain community, building that partnership would be something that you could be the transition for. So I would be in the middle too. You'd have social workers, you'd have nurses, you have doctors, and you'd have the school as the hub. And I know me and Shawn, Childish Nish, talked about in another video. I really think that a school is the hub for people who don't have time to take all the trainings, go on these seminars. In small towns, you have a school, and that's basically it, because you have to work and grind to go paycheck to paycheck. And so if you're already dropping off your kid and you know the school is there, you bring all the helpers to the school to meet people where they are. And I think that's only fair, because we're kind of even out the playing ground for people to receive help. Yes, having a supportive community is a must, and I think that's how we should be viewing it. But sometimes, so here's my personal opinion. This is not anything about other people's or thing, like, when it
There we go.
Welcome back. I ranted about education. So my thing about, like, education is, like, sometimes in mental health, when you graduate with your doctorate or your master's, some people are like, I'm so good, I'm going to start private practice, and I'm not going to do anything to do community mental health. But to me, if you want to really help, community mental health is something you have to be integrate into your practice. Whether it's posting a video, resources, something to help heal the community and educate, there has to be a component of that. And if you're not doing that, you're just doing it for, like, primarily very money-oriented reasons to build a private practice. I think it always has to be both. Like, you have to remember where your roots are and where you come from, which is community. Yes, and Hopeful Heart says that keeping it real, sometimes I think those programs work more for professionals to build empathy and relate to their community. Yes, so this goes back to racism, right? And stereotypes. So, like, sometimes when you're in the different communities, you go into it to better understand populations of people that you most likely might not know if you don't come from it, because Psych for Geeks has a panel on this. We talked about how most people who practice in psychology are very wealthy, so they have a disconnect from understanding people who actually need the help, more likely need the help. And CMH, community mental health, underpays. Yeah, that was the goal for like a year, and then I left because you cannot sustain some type of work like that. Yeah, we need to destroy the system and start over, Psych for Geeks. Well, we're glad you're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Even the act of exposing yourself to the community and forming small attachments to it helps. Yes, it's all about building all these bridges and connections. And sometimes when you're in private practice, or if you practice too long, you feel like you haven't done the continual education, and so you feel distance from the community instead of being on the ground with other people. You're up in this, like, again, ivory tower of intellectualism, which is not that cool. Like, we need to live on the ground too, not in La La Land in the air. That's my thoughts.
I
I'm done.
100% agree.
Okay, child, just say something. Your turn.
Sorry about that. Yeah, before my stuff started acting stupid, I just wanna, from what I did here, chime in. Like, a lot of time there's I think it's important for people to be able to identify with you and to feel like, there's a connection and stuff like that. I consider myself a unicorn in what I do. There's a lot of, I don't see too many black males doing what I do. A lot of times it's like women. Nothing against the women, but
Better not. Like,
sometimes people need to be able to look across. Look, hey, I love women. You guys are great.
You guys are great. Women are great guys.
But sometimes,
anyways, back to,
you get what I mean,
man. You just got
but
targeted.
it's just it's just one of those things. One of those things where, like, it's good to look across and see that somebody is you can kind of identify with them. And it's good to just kind of remember, like you said, where you came from. I used to work in a pretty rich county here in Maryland, and after leaving, I decided to work in the inner city, and I feel like that's, more of where I'm supposed to be. I had a kid once who I used to work with, and he was like, "Man, why are you so nice? Like, what why are you doing all this?" And I was like, "Because you look like me." And not to say I would help anyone. I would help anyone who needs the help. But, a lot of times people look at certain things, like we were talking about, like stereotypes. Being African American, especially with like anime. Like, I love anime, as you guys can probably tell. I'm a big nerd if you can see my room in the background. But like, even with that, like, I was watching this video on YouTube, and they were talking about how characters and stuff were animated in anime early on, and a lot of their interpretations of what black people look like were based off of, like, blackface, and a lot of stuff that was being created here in America, because with Japan's population in particular, they're very homogeneous. There we go. Yeah, they're very homogeneous outside of, like, the military and stuff like that. So their interaction with African Americans is little to none. So a lot of times they, are getting their stuff from what the outside world says. And a lot of times what the outside world says about minorities, more specifically African Americans, is not good. So I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that force that champions, okay, we can be other things than basketball players. We can be other than
sorry about that,
getting a good job at the post office.
I don't know how to turn it off. Shoot. Hold on.
Oh, you got ads. Okay, so you must have a lot of followers huh?
No, I don't know how to turn this off. Like, it goes on. Oh, it's at the 30-minute mark.
I think you can.
Okay, so it's still on. I'm sorry. It's a whole minute. Which is, I don't got ads. Oh, hey, you subscribed. Thank you.
I'm learning. She's a big deal.
Whatever. Let's read some of the comments. So Joshi said it's caused xenophobia, right? The being homogenous, and then, like, John says minstrel art style in black characters. That's a really big part. Like, we are getting a culture of representation based on media, and that's why media representation is so powerful. You're seeing a caricature instead of a real range of people, and that affects your ability to enjoy a whole medium, right? It's wild. Oh, we're back.
It really is. And like just the other day, like, I was reading comments. I hate going through like comment sections on social media because it's never good. It's always something toxic. Somebody's always saying something racist. It's crazy. And the whole video was about African American hairstyles with certain characters and stuff in video games. And people were like, "Oh my god, why are you guys complaining?" I was like, "Bro, like if you ever play a video game and you are able to customize a character, there's probably like only five hairstyles I can think of that I can choose from.
That's it.
Representation matters.
That's all you get.
Like pretty much if it was up to them. Like what's his name? When Chadwick Boseman died, what was the guy's name from Shang-Chi? He's like one of my favorite actors. I forgot his name. I can't think of his name. There you go. He's Canadian too.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about how like Chadwick Boseman opened the door for him, and like with him being a lead actor in his film in this big Marvel film and stuff like that. Like he was talking about how like how important Chadwick Boseman's character as Black Panther was. And honestly, in my lifetime, like I can only think of like a handful of times where we kind of look at like the kids and stuff. At least I do. When Halloween rolls around and all the kids are like, I want to be this character, I want to be that character. And unfortunately, off the top of my head, I can only probably think of 2 or 3 growing up that I can be like, okay, that person looks like me. But when Black Panther came out, I want to be Shuri. I want to be T'Challa. Like it was just, and it wasn't just black kids. Everyone wanted to be the Black Panther.
Yes. Thank you for
So it was just cool. And because and because of that, like with Shang-Chi and stuff, like he contributed that. He was like Chadwick Boseman's character, and him portraying the Black Panther opened up the door for a lot of minorities become lead actors. A lot of times we're either comic relief or some side character, never the main ones.
Oh God, can we? Okay, I want to jump off of this too. So like, I'm sure we're gonna have overlaps for so much of this because when I was growing up, because my internalized colorism was so strong, I actually didn't identify with Jubilee for X-Men, Miles Morales. So like, I actually was Storm because I felt like I relate to her. She has all this energy and powerfulness, and I'm gonna relate to mostly black female characters in anime or comics. And so when I was thinking about what to say for this video that we had, right, I was thinking, you know how someone commented earlier, even good stereotypes or bad stereotypes, we have what you call the model minority myth, right? And we are only allowed to be doctors or pharmacists or whatever, or lawyers. We're not allowed to have fun growing up. We're not even allowed to have joy or like the stoicism that we're supposed to be super serious. It's like we can't even feel pain or express joy. If you're doing that, you're not serious enough, you're not Asian enough. And that was like a terrible feeling of like, I'm doing this wrong. Every time like I was sad or showed expression of pain in some way or started laughing a lot, they're like, I internalized the feeling of like, I'm not Asian enough because I'm failing my ancestors. I'm causing so much shame because I actually want to be an artist. And that was like the ultimate shame. If you study art as an Asian, you failed your entire bloodline. Like you might as well just wipe yourself off the face of the planet because you destroyed like any hope of the future for all the hard work that your ancestors did to get here. So it's hard. It is hard. I'm exaggerating, but that's how it feels,
Yeah. No, a few of my friends, like they they kind of reverberate that a lot. They say that like, their parents love them unconditionally, but like, you have to kind of go this way and stuff that is not typically what do I want to say? Jobs that don't pay the bills, they kind of get a bad rap, or at least their parents kind of side eye them a little bit when it comes to certain things. But yeah, I mean, like it's just one of those things where stereotypes, like you were saying, some stereotypes or whatever, like all Asians are smart or something, stuff like that. Like it's just kind of one of those things that may sound kind of innocent on the outside, but like we don't really know how that affects someone. I was watching this thing, and this guy who was of Asian descent, I'm not sure exactly, I don't remember where he was from, but he was talking about like just kind of going back to like the media and movies and entertainment and stuff. He was talking about a lot of times like there isn't really any serious Asian male leads, and a lot of times they aren't looked at as being like sexy or like attractive or sought after and stuff like that.
Oh God.
And yeah,
Have you seen the
and it's just
statistics?
it's a lot. It's a lot. Like
Like
no, I'm interested though.
the dating websites. Aw, thank you for the sub. Ah! Okay, so oh my God, hype train! First hype train in 3 years. Let's go. So like
Oh man,
sorry, can't think. Hype train. So, oh yeah. So the
you're fine.
statistics. Ah, buddy, thank you, Jaden. So like with the whole
There we go.
whatchamacallit, the statistics for dating websites, they do all these rates things, who's clicking on who, and Asian men are on the bottom. They're demasculated and seen as not as attractive compared to any other ethnic grouping, and it's a mental mindfuck. Like, it makes you feel like, is there something wrong with me? Why aren't people attracted to me, right? And so, and also on the opposite end of it, you have Asian women being super fetishized, and they're constantly being sought out. And so, like, you lose a sense of, like, identity, too. Which, again, extremes of anything is, like, that fetishization of difference. I'm sure black women also have that feeling, too, of, like, someone wants to be with them, not because of their personality, of who they actually are, dudes, you guys stop. But because they offer some type of like, ooh, this is exotic. I want to know what's different, because you're listening to the stereotypes of what a person might be, but not who they actually are. And so it's kind of it's not kind of, it's disgusting.
Right.
It's disgusting,
I mean, sometimes I guess it could be kind of cool because it's like, oh, you're black, you must know how to play basketball. I do not. I am terrible at basketball. I do know how to swim. That stereotype's wrong.
Oh, let's
But
go.
I mean, it's just one of those things that like you just kind of people just automatically assume like, oh, okay, you must be into this or you must be into that. Like, especially in like the anime community, like you said, like Asian women are fetishized a lot. They feel like, because I like anime, I must go after this particular kind of girl, and like that's the only kind of girl that I'm into because they have these characteristics, and it's just kind of. I've actually asked a few of my friends that are Japanese, and I'm like, do you guys even like anime? And they're like, it's alright.
Right.
But like a lot of times they call them weeaboos. They have the people that want to go to Japan and different things like that, and it's just like that's their only contribution to society. Japan's only contribution to society is anime.
Yikes.
Never mind all of the great cuisine that they got and all of that stuff. It's just kind of like you said, it's sad. Like I know that sometimes their intentions, like you were saying, they're ignorant about it. They don't really know that they're being offensive, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, no, like open your eyes. We have so much more to offer. Like you were saying about black women being sought after and stuff. They are. They have the big butts and they gyrate on music video. I sound old saying that, but that's how a lot of the world looks at women in like these music videos and stuff like that. But that they're more than just that. Like the girl that actually who created the COVID vaccine is a black girl,
right?
Black woman rather.
Right.
I'm sorry,
Black girl magic,
woman.
and that's why. Okay, so like we're now
like it just kind of
right turning it around to like what's the push now for representation to counter these stereotypes. When some people are like, can we stop with the black girl magic? I'm like, why? Are you tired of seeing positive representation? You just want to stick to what you think the negative stuff is? Like, does that make you comfortable? What, you don't want to see people in their greatness and power too? What's wrong with you?
Right. And that to me is just so like weird. Like, how can you not be happy? Like when Black Panther came out, everybody came it was a big thing. People on Facebook, we gotta wear this when we go to the theaters, y'all. Like it was it was a big thing. Like when Black Panther came out, we had our time. And then like, Crazy Rich Asians came out and like I said, Shang-Chi and all these other different movies and stuff. Like some of my nerd friends that are also into Marvel and stuff like that, they were just as happy as they were when Black Panther came out because it's boring. Like you see the same kind of like character all the time. Some not I don't know white dude with nice hair and stuff. Like he's the lead character. He's a serious one. He gets the girl and stuff like that. And like it's just you never can look at the screen and see yourself. And you know every kid needs that. Every person needs that rather. Um, so like when that time frame when Crazy Rich Asians came out and it was like doing big numbers and stuff, I was happy. It's not always just about what I want to see, what's familiar to me and stuff like that. No, I mean that's cool. Like to have other cultures feel like that's us, or we're getting the same kind of play and press like everybody else. That's something to be happy for. Like I'm not Asian, but I'm happy for it. And oh, before I forget, I want to touch on this too. Have you seen? Well, are you a fan of The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Apu for years was just kind of one of those things where, he was the guy who owned the Quickie Mart.
Right.
But in recent years, they actually wrote his character out of the show because people found it offensive.
Really? Oh.
Now, he's no longer in the show. Last time I checked. And yeah, he just kind of like people were outraged. It was like, oh my god, like why get rid of Apu? He was a staple of the show and stuff. And even though I'm not, and he was voiced by a dude who wasn't of that descent at all.
Right.
I forgot the actor's name, but people were upset, and they have the right to be. And just because it doesn't make sense to me that it's offensive, isn't that enough reason to just stop if somebody is saying that it's offensive? But people were outraged. They were kind of like, "Oh my god! Like how could you get rid of a character like that?" And it's like, dude, he's kind of racist. So I don't know. People with this outrage about certain things, it just kind of that's my biggest gripe with all this stuff. People like you don't have to necessarily understand why it's offensive, but if I'm outwardly telling you it is, why isn't that good enough?
So Cypher Geeks is saying, I thought it was because he wasn't voiced by a person of color, and Try Guy is saying it's because it was the dude who did Carl and Lenny. I don't really know about voice acting.
Yeah, the guy who actually did Apu's voice, he I think his name's Hank Azalia, something like that. Like he voices a lot of different characters in that show.
Yeah.
And Apu was just one of them. He voices, like you said, Carl and Lenny, but I think he also did Apu. But yeah, I mean, like this stuff it just goes deep, and like when people are just kind of like quick to be like, oh well, why are you guys upset? It's really dismissive, and I don't think, like you said, when you're in a position where throughout life you've never had to feel like you were not included with stuff. I guess you can kind of feel that way, or that's probably why you feel that way, because it never happened to you.
Right.
So as you guys can tell, like this is something that affects both of us very deeply, and I'm very passionate about it because it's something I go through in all areas. Like case in point, last year myself and a few other squad members, we went to DreamCon. And I've been going to conventions for as long as I can remember, since like high school. And I cosplay every once in a while. And that was the first time ever in life that I wasn't, oh, look, that guy's Black Link, or this, like I was just that character.
Yeah.
That was the first time I've ever gone somewhere and that never happened. And I don't want to say it was because it was mainly a minority run program, but like that probably had a lot to do with it. Yes. I've never felt that like at home ever at a con. And I like to think that the nerd community, we're pretty good with each other, and even then there's still kind of like elitism a little bit. That's a whole nother topic for another day. But yeah, yeah, that was a good feeling.
I want to echo that, but before I want to echo is like John says there was a big movement against it because the character was a stereotype, right? And that's something we are still learning about, because what happens when we have representation in a largely Western media, it's usually the stereotype of a character again. So we go back to the beginning of our conversation. what are the stereotypes and assumptions that people have as specific types of people, right? And so when I think about, again, when Asians, this is a very broad brush, right? Just like, what kind of characters are we having? Like, you have, this is the one that really pisses me off. You have Asian women is the conquest of war. We're the conquest and the prize of some white dude who wins some type of battle or long-term, like, whatever he goes through. And at the end of the day, he'll swoop up and, like, some chick is his prize. She doesn't even get to talk or anything or whatever it is, like, so she's just, like, some decoration, and that's how it feels like for, oh yeah, and it does the whole Hinata isn't black meme, and I loved that video so much. It's just very catchy, and it touches my heart too, because again, colorism is strong within the communities, and if you don't look like the drawn character or the version that people have in their head, people will try to correct you because you have these keyboard warriors and you have people who want to have, like, quote unquote, the correct interpretation of a character, but that's not how. Nobody has the same body. It's like, it is so, like, percentage wise, it's rare, impossible almost, but we like to police people's bodies and what they're allowed to do.
Right. I mean, like, it's one of those things where, I've been kind of like how I am now my entire life, a nerdy dude who likes video games and anime. And it's not until most, like, recent years that stuff has just kind of become mainstream and, socially acceptable. A couple of years ago, you were weird if you watched anime or had anime characters on your book bag or, like, pins and stuff like that. It's just one of those things that I'm happy because my little cousins don't have to go through that kind of stuff. But now it's just kind of like, I remember all that kind of stuff. And you would think that amongst each other, because society already looks at us as, like, weirdos and outcasts and stuff like that. Society already has their outlook on what anime nerds and video game players and stuff look like and what they are and what they do and stuff, like the stereotypes, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
But you would just think that, like, amongst each other we would just be good and like, but the most racist things I've ever seen or heard was in this community, was in the realm of, like, cosplayers and anime and stuff like that. Like Castlevania recently came out with Nocturne. It's a good series on Netflix if you guys ever get the chance to watch it. It is really good. It's not exactly like the games. There is a lot of creative liberties done, but one of the actual female protagonists and love interest is, black now. And a lot of people was like, oh my God, like, why, how could they do this? How could they, and the character, nowhere is it written that the character is supposed to look a specific kind of way. I know that the artist probably depicted them a certain kind of way initially, but it's not important to that character that they look or they are of this ethnicity. Like, one thing I love about, and I gotta actually sit down and watch the One Piece live action, is that, not only did the creator give his blessing and everything, but, like, they made sure that each character was represented accurately. Like Usopp, for example. It's always been kind of like a thing where he's been Brazilian or South American, I think, something along those lines. And like, it's just like that. And when a author specifically says this character is supposed to be this way or this character is supposed to be that, then okay, all right, yeah, you got it. But if it's not outwardly saying that, like, what's the harm?
Right.
Like Donald Glover has this one joke about how he was like, because at one point he was in the running to play as Miles Morales, and it was a whole big thing online about Donald Glover for Spider-Man and stuff like that. And people were mad, and he was like, really going to make Spider-Man black? What if we made Shaft what if we made Shaft into Michael Cera or something like that? And he was like, I would die laughing if I watched the Shaft movie as Shaft. But that would be funny. Yeah. But it's not written anywhere that somebody is supposed to be a specific color or anything like that. Like, I wouldn't be upset if, somebody didn't look like me. And now if they changed the history or something like that, and it was, important to the character's lore or something like that, then yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's my big thing. Colorism. There you go, Jaded. Thank you. I
Yeah.
was having a brain fart.
Mm. I I
Why is my
wanna
camera
I
doing
wanna
that?
do your internet probably. I wanna nerd out a little bit about archetypes and mythology. So mythology is just a story that we reference to believe in the heroism of our certain personality types growth. So modern mythology is anime, film, video, anything that you see on the screen that has wide impact. It's like fairy tales, but modernized.
Mm-hmm.
So comic culture, comic movies, superheroes, all of that is what you would call the modern myth. Modern myths help inspire us to go on our adventures, to be our own heroes, right? I hope you're still there because you're blotchy.
Right.
There you are. And so,
I am.
okay. So the thing about modern mythology is that it is supposed to be updated. Archetypes exist within a scope of time, but because time changes, archetypes should also change. So, like, you have a Western group of people who may be controlling the media representation. The mythology changes, and the stories changes, and the characters change when the culture moves and evolves as well. And so, if we're sticking to old representations, we're going backwards in time and not honoring more archetypes and possibility. So, when we do that, like having this conversation and talking about the breakdown of a mythology, that's where we grow. Because heroes should change, just like, the MCU. So now cinematic universes, this is called the collective unconscious for Jungian archetype stuff. So the collective unconscious is that there are thousands, millions of representations of one hero. Your own version of the hero is as valid as the one that you see on the screen, the one that you read in the book. So when we don't believe that or don't understand that, that's when we deny people the ability to be heroic. And so that's why when you have different versions of like the reboot of something, that's when we're doing archetypes correctly. So people who are writing stories, people who are saying that the character was supposed to be like this or not, if the writer does not intentionally say that this is part of the story or the narrative for some reason, their race or whatever, or some attribute is about the story, then you are allowed to change it because we're swapping in characters from the collective unconscious. That for me is like a default. You are allowed to do that. It's always been a case. But if we don't have representation, we will continue to believe that we're not allowed to do it. So that's my thing about archetypes. Thank you.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And for those at home wondering, like I'm sitting here, yeah, the collective unconscious. For those at home that are wondering what the hell we're talking about, the collective unconscious, there's just to kind of summarize it, think of how like, we have different cultures across the world and stuff. And no matter where you go, early life, when people are exploring different areas of the world and they find like, caveman drawings and stuff like that, usually there's kind of like a universally kind of thing that they have. Like they have story writing, they have storytelling, all of that kind of stuff. These people live in totally different areas of the world, but they all commonly have the same kind of thing. So think of the collective unconscious kind of like that. But you're absolutely right. Like we have a lot of different stories and folklores and stuff like that overlap, and a lot of the times the characters are different. Case in point, the Lion King. The Lion King, a lot of people, hold on, wait, before I say this, I hate saying stuff and being wrong. I believe the story is actually based off of a tale called Sunjata. And, a lot of different things, like you were talking about the archetype, a character falling from grace, finding the strength within to conquer the big bad villain and stuff like that. A lot of those things, that's not something that's unique to
Nope.
any singular particular
Nope.
culture.
Nobody owns it.
Anybody can fit in that description. Right. Right. So why not have diversity? I'm not gonna lie, like since I do like certain anime series, I haven't even watched the show. I mean the movie, because I was just like, they got Scarlett Johansson to play as Makoto from
Yeah.
Ghost in the Shell.
Dude, I love
I
Ghost
was
in the
like,
Shell
what?
too. I
Like
haven't watched
it's
it. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good series. And like and those, that's what I mean. Like it's okay for people to, like, people talk about, oh, whitewashing, it's not a thing. And it's like, it kind of is. Like, there's no reason for anybody to not play as a character named you got this white lady running around. Her name is Makoto, in like a area that's supposed to be set up into and like a futuristic dystopian Japan. Like, why would there be a white woman running around named Makoto?
Yeah.
Like, that is integral to the story. So, like, we can't sit here and talk about certain things. It's okay for diversity when it's beneficial to the majority, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's okay then when we can bend the rules a little bit so the majority can fit into this particular role. But like, if the roles are reversed, it's not okay, and it's kind of upsetting. Like, that is one time where I'm kind of like, that's not even close to the source material. But other than that, I don't really care. Like, anybody could fit that role.
Mm-hmm.
A good guy or woman saves the world from a tyrannical villain or something like that. Anybody can fit those shoes.
Mm-hmm. I love that you love the
So
birds.
yeah,
Thank you.
I definitely those are cute. One day I'm gonna get on your level and have icons and emojis and stuff.
Oh,
I just got to be more
I had an
consistent.
ADHD thing. I did it all in like a week. So we'll chat. So Leroy's saying, I like seeing people get shut down when someone says the character isn't black, but then someone tells them they aren't white either. Imagine trying to own an artistic impression, open to interpretation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I like that. You know, the subtleties in the between, because like, look at the world. We're mostly brown and beige. Most of the world.
Yeah. At this point, you're not lying. It's just kind of one of those things. It's like, do you guys go outside? That's how I know, like, the whole basement dweller actually stereotype is real. Because it's like, dude, if you just open your blinds or go outside and get some sunlight, you'll see that the world looks like that. Like, people don't just kind of look the same. And that's okay that we don't look the same. But, like, it's just one of those things. I remember, what was it, Cheerios? That was probably my first time ever seeing like a interracial family on that commercial, but it was like a huge thing, and people were upset that there was a white mom and a black dad, and the kid was mixed. Like, people were so pissed. I don't really see it too much now, but I remember when that first aired, and it was just like one of those things that was really edgy at the time, and really just kind of like, we're pushing boundaries here, and it's like, no, like, that's how a lot of families look outside. Where you guys been?
Okay.
So,
I want to wrap up a little bit, so I do want to talk about that. The funny thing is, like, it sounds like we went back 70 years of like, oh my god, the race mixing, you know, like, the outrage for that was huge. And I'm actually in a Asian group, not because I agree with the philosophy, but because I'm keeping an eye on people who are kind of questionable. So it's mostly Asian men who are very angry that Asian women are dating outside their race. And they're just bashing every single Asian ex-partner mix where the woman gets like divorced, she gets like screwed over in some way, and they're celebrating in the group because they hate the mixing. They're like, they took our women, they took our property,
wow.
And now that she's like divorced and she's by herself, like she like deserves it. And so like, there's that too, you know, within your own. I know people kept on commenting, it can be within your own community, and it's terrible. Oh, we have another ad. Sorry, guys.
Am I still here?
You're here with me, but
You guys
like,
still see me, right?
I gotta figure out how to turn off the ad, because we don't need that. Yeah, Leroy.
Incels. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
The incels, the neckbeards.
That's a different archetype.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone will write a book about. I'm sure there's books on it already, but it is an archetype. It's a type of person. Again, generationally, you know, for the era, there's a new archetype, incel archetype. When I cast.
That's definitely a thing.
Oh, no ads
There
for
are no
TV.
ads.
That's interesting.
Weird.
Well, I'll look at it later, because again, I haven't streamed in a long time. I'm still learning.
Me too. My audio probably sounds like trash on my end. So.
Oh no, you sound great.
I mean, at least it's working right now, so I'll figure it out.
You sound great. You look great.
But yeah.
Kid, you're doing awesome.
Well, thank you. You're adorable as well.
Thank you. Twitch Turbo?
I gotta
Are you
figure out
sure?
why this think he's
I
freezing.
don't have Twitch Turbo. Oh, is that why I have ads on my own thing? Okay, that's weird. Oh. $11.99 a month? Don't do it. Don't do it. Just, I'll pause during the ads too. It's fine.
I'm confused. So, like, you're getting ads on your end as you're streaming? Like,
Yeah.
it pops up on your screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is really weird.
I'm subbed to my own channel, though. I don't know why I see ads. I don't know.
That would explain it. I mean, they have a view for, like, when you're in, what is it called? Production mode? Stream manager. Like, you're able to see what you're, because that's what I'm using.
So
And you shouldn't get hit with that kind of stuff. I can still see that.
It might be because I'm streaming with you, and then, like, Hopeful Hearts says she's subbed and still got last ads. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Don't worry, guys. We got it. So let's kind of wrap up with, what would your last thoughts be, or what last thing you want to talk about? Anything you want to review, touch upon? Any questions from the audience?
I mean, I got a little point that I want to say before we get out of here, but is there anything in the audience? Like, I know, like, I haven't really been in here that long. I was too busy fooling with stuff to answer too many questions.
There's a lot of comments. I don't think there were any questions. Any questions, you guys? Any things you want us to talk about next time? Thanks, Jaded. Really appreciate it. I want to geek out more. I'm getting tired. My limit is usually an hour and a half. That's why I need to stop soon. It's totally a biological thing. Yeah. Well, Psych for Geeks, I'm streaming with you later.
Yeah, I mean, as of...
It's not like you're not going to talk to me later. My God. Okay, so no questions. Okay. Childishness. What was your last thoughts for today? Oh, okay. Try Guy's asking. Question. He has a question. How about how invisible illnesses can cloud how people perceive you? Oh, Joshy, we're gonna talk about that later. But what do you think, childishness?
Oh, that's a
good one.
Again, it's very, like, one of those things where a few of my friends later in life have found out that they were diagnosed with ADHD and different things like that, and people were kind of like, "Oh, you?" And it's like, why not me? I mean, like, it's just kind of one of those things where I think people aren't trying to be offensive, but it comes out wrong.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing. A lot of the training and stuff that I recently did and went over and stuff the other weekend talks a lot about, like, not only is there a need or a surplus for, like, people to have training on how to address minorities, but it's also, like, the disability population, and those, like you were saying, the ones that don't necessarily present a certain kind of way. They, a lot of times, like, one thing I was looking at, they were talking about how with crisis services with that population, they aren't taken too seriously. So, I mean, that's a whole can of worms that I feel like we got to sit down and talk about when we have the appropriate amount of time, because it's crazy how, people who are in these positions that help don't know how to address certain things. They don't talk about how, or they're not properly trained to even know how to service somebody who may or may not have certain illnesses that are presentable. So, yeah, it's one of those things. That's a very touchy subject, and even though, given how long I've been doing this stuff, I feel like there's room for me to even grow in that area, because it's not in the actual, what's the word I'm looking for? When I was in a short period of time between when I graduated and started working, it hasn't really been talked about too much. It hasn't really been dedicated chapters talking about how to address or talk to individuals who have different illnesses and stuff that may not present itself in a certain kind of way, and how to even address or talk to them. So yeah, that was a very good question. I hope I answered it.
I'm going to bounce off of it. So, for a short period of time before my car accident ruined my life and made me change directions, I worked for the mobile crisis response team for my county. And because of that,
Ooh.
I worked with the police department, and it was this crisis social worker kind of position. And so we would go to people in crisis, do the 5150 assessments, and it is a great experience, hopeful heart. Like, you learn a lot. So most of the people who are in crisis or being called for crisis are homeless people, veterans struggling, people who are using drugs, people who are unhoused, or people who have family conflicts, who don't know how to deal with the family conflict. And so many times someone will say a comment of like, I want to end my life, or I'm done with this. They'll make some vague remark, right? And so you'll call the crisis line, and you do the triage and see, is this worth a call to go out or not, yes or no? And then if you do get sent out, a lot of the people who are having a hard time, so this is just my personal experience, it could be very different. It was either people who had struggling with schizophrenia and or very creative, super intense, emotional people who felt misunderstood, and so they said something like, I want to end it, I'm done. So like you said with the approach of invisible conditions, struggling, if they just had someone to talk to most of the time, so like, again, my case is very unique. Most of the time, I didn't have to put anyone on a hold. So like take away their rights and to put them in psychiatric, like medical care because they couldn't make their own decisions. If I were able to talk to them for like 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes max, they were able to de-escalate and be like, you're right, I don't want to do anything. I just feel very sad. I feel misunderstood. These people don't get me. I don't know what to do. And so you're stuck, right? And so there's a lot of pain with that. There's a lot of pain with people not understanding how tired you are with life, how much you're struggling because your meds are like wonky or you're not taking your meds. And so like, there's also this misperception of being a threat. That's why we have to go with the police. Like, most of them who are struggling emotionally are not a threat, but I get that the danger can be there. So there's also this huge stereotype, because the whole thing is about stereotypes. The stereotype is like, if you're mentally ill, you're the ones that, we scapegoat. There was another shooting, they most likely had like bipolar schizophrenia or something like that. And so again, it's a big excuse for not understanding a whole group of people, right? And so that's my lens of it, and at the same time, we have a lot of work to do. And so I'm asking everyone in the chat to do their part, because we're all in this together, my guys. Like, we're a community, and we're going to figure out how to dismantle and rebuild, because this system that we have right now, it's just not working. So, yeah.
Yeah, the infrastructure needs to be fixed from the bottom up. And not to take any more time, but like, it's interesting how like stuff with the whole, like when that whole Dahmer series came out on Netflix, and people were like, oh my gosh, like serial killers are, all of them are psychopaths or sociopaths and stuff. And a lot of times there's again, stereotypes. A lot of times people with those conditions, because you probably came I'm getting tongue tied. The statistics, there's not a lot of people walking around with it, but you wouldn't be none the wiser that a person had it, because they're really good at masking it. And not all of them are murderers or killers.
Right.
Like, that's something that a lot of people who are who do have those kind of things going on with them are stereotyped. They're kind of cast typed as, okay, you're gonna go and kill somebody because you're a sociopath or a psychopath. Not necessarily. So yeah, that's something, again, we probably had to sit down and dedicate a whole episode or discussion topic around.
Yes, we touched so many things. I know that I'm going to tag team with a lot of people in the chat, and we're, of course, you and me, we're going to talk about certain things too. So I'm going to do a last call for any comments or questions that we could probably bring with us to the next talk. I'll leave it up for like a minute if anyone wants to comment, because I know it's been a long chat, and I really appreciate everyone here. Last call for alcohol. I should do a closing screen of that. Not alcohol, but last call for questions.
We got O'Doul's over here,
I have
non-alcoholic.
protein drinks on my side. Oh, for real? I see. I used to go out. Now that I don't touch grass, but you know, in a former life, I did do that. It was fun. Okay, so there's
So
no
weird
questions.
now. Like I if I feel like I don't get enough sleep,
Mhm.
like I'm not a night owl anymore. I used to like get like an
Yeah.
hour of sleep and then be able to run around and do classes and stuff. Now, if I don't get like 8 hours of sleep, I feel like somebody beat me with a sock full of oranges.
Does it have to be a sock full of oranges? Like, can it be something else?
Oranges, like they don't leave bruises, yeah, because it has to be oranges because they don't leave bruises. I don't know why I know that. Don't ask me.
I was gonna
But
say, because your mom is a sweetheart.
yeah, like I don't. I feel like somebody beat me and I can't see it.
Show your mom that.
I'm not incriminating myself. I'm not incriminating myself. Don't get me to do that.
Mm, okay. All right.
I
Thank
heard a
you.
little bit of it.
Yeah. Oh, Hope is not here. Our friend Hope. Her hometown is from Baltimore, so she was interested in like, who is this? So
Okay.
can't wait for her to rewatch it. So thank you everyone for participating and for the support. I love you guys so much. Thank you Childishness for being my guest and being such a wonderful participant and offering great feedback and insight. You're amazing. Your brain is amazing, and you're doing so many wonderful things for the community
Well,
just
thank you.
because you're you.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for having me. I love these conversations. I love talking to someone who gets me on that end. Like a lot of times, I'm talking about this stuff, the psychobabble and everything, and people are like, "What?" So it's good to actually, meet somebody who's like-minded, and you as well. Like we need more people who are as passionate as you are about what you do, and then yeah,
Thank you.
you as well.
And Helpful Heart says ENFPs, right? Yes, we are the same personality, and one day we'll do that too. We'll do a
Yeah.
deep dive into our archetype because I have a lot to say. All right, thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.
Good night, everybody.